Hey, how are y'all? My name is Gretchen Sanders, and I work for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension as the Blanco County Extension Agent, Family and Community Health. Welcome to the Cook Along #1, all about appetizers. And I have to say that in 2020, I would record the cook alongs on Saturday morning live, and we would have 5 or 6 people join us. Then I would immediately send the recording out to everyone else that was interested that couldn't make it at 9 o'clock. And we did one Saturday morning, October 23rd at 9 o'clock. And as soon as it was over, I realized that I never hit record. So there was no recording. So I'm fast forward, it's now Monday morning and I'm recording it. And of course, no one will be joining us live since everyone's at school and work. So this might be a little different. And I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself a little bit. So while you're watching this cook along, feel free to hit pause at any time to catch up. Normally, we'd be cooking along together, and I could stop and start as needed with the kids that were cooking. So let's get started. We're going to start today by discussing the 4-H food show. Now, some of y'all may participate in 4-H Food Challenge, which is a team event. The 4-H Food Show is an individual event. The contest is different. You actually cook something at home, take it to the contest where you're interviewed by a pair of judges. So this year's theme is actually backyard barbecue. So I set up with my red checkered tablecloth. I've got some flowers over here because that's what I think of when I think of backyard barbecue. So the 4-H Food Show will be held December 1st in Kerrville at the Hill Country Youth Event Center. There are 4 categories that you can participate in, and you may have noticed that our cook-alongs will match these. So today is appetizers, so that's our first category. Next week will be main dish, that's our second. Our third week, which is the first Saturday in November, will be side dishes. And then our last category, the second Saturday in November, will be healthy desserts. So each time we're going to talk about that category, the particular category for that session. And then we're also going to talk about basic nutrition, food safety, and kitchen safety, and that will help you with your interview. If you are interested in participating in the District 10 4-H Food Show, please have your parents email me right away so we can get you registered. We can also only send one person per category per age group. So in third, fourth, and fifth grade, that's considered the intermediate age group. So 1 per category. Intermediates are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Same thing, 1 per category. And then seniors are 9th through 12th grade. So Blanco County can send a total of 12 people. All right, with any questions, again, have your parents email me. All right, so next, we are going to, like I said, we're starting with appetizers. So we are going to make an appetizer, and I'm going to reference this book, Cooking Class by Deanna Cook, and I bought it a really nice used copy on Amazon. If you want to get one, it's a really, really great book to have in your cookbook collection. But what I really like is on page 8 of this book, it really starts at the very beginning and starts with some rules, some good cooking habits that I want all of you to remember and use. And you're going to use these to help your parents cook. You're going to use these cooking habits when you go to college or when you get your first job and you have a roommate, when you're a boyfriend or girlfriend and you want to cook for them, if you're a husband or a wife, a mom or a dad later on. So always start by washing your hands with warm, soapy water for 20 seconds. Roll up any long sleeves. I like to wear short sleeves when I'm cooking. You might want to put on an apron. I was raised by a mom who always has an apron when she's cooking, and for some reason, I never think of it. So make sure to tie any hair back. You can put on a baseball cap, you can put on a bandana, you can clip your hair back with a barrette or use a ponytail. Even those of us with short hair, sometimes we do find that our hair kind of falls into the food and it's just always gross. So we don't want to have that happen. Make sure that you read your recipe from start to finish. I am famous for not doing this and calling my husband, who's I know is driving home, and I'll ask him, hey, can you stop at HEB and get whatever ingredient I'm missing? So don't be like me, be better, okay? Read your recipe from start to finish and also read the steps from start to finish. I've noticed that a lot of recipes that are on blogs, sometimes the order is maybe just not the way I would do it. So it could be a recipe where you think, oh no, I'm not going to do that first. I'm going to do this first because it's more efficient. So switch those things up if they make more sense to you or to the way that your kitchen is set up. Measure very carefully. We're going to be measuring brown sugar today and also cayenne pepper if you want that in your recipe. So we'll have two types of measuring. Make sure to use a timer. I've got one on the microwave and I've got one on our oven, but my favorite one is to say, and I don't even want to say it because I think it might turn on, but I always say, hey Siri, and a timer will start. Oh, I tricked him. He didn't turn on. So that's my favorite timer because then I can, if I've got to go outside, I can put my phone in my pocket and I don't forget about what's in my oven because I don't want to burn anything. Always use pot holders if you're taking things in and out of the oven. Now today we're going to have a high fat food. We've got the little Smokies and we've got our bacon. So there will be a lot of grease in the pan. So I would suggest that even if you're comfortable putting this in the oven, that you get some help getting it out of the oven because we don't want to have any sort of grease spill on you or any sort of splatters getting your arm or your face. So be real careful. And also think about the way that you like to clean up. Are you a messy cook who cleans up everything at the end? Are you a messy cook and you prefer to, I'm saying messy cook because I feel like we all are. But I do like to clean as I go, which makes things, I guess, a little neater for me. If I'm going to be doing a lot of baking at the holidays, I really will try to have an empty dishwasher before I get started. Takes a little bit of advanced planning, but it's really nice because as I use my utensils, measuring cups, measuring spoons, they can go straight into the dishwasher and it's all finished. All right. So consider cleaning as you go, but as long as you clean at some point, you can't go wrong. All right. So that's all we're going to do out of our cooking class book. So now it's time to cook. We're going to get these in the oven and then we're going to, while they're baking, we'll visit about some key points about foods and nutrition and the 4-H food show. So let's get started. So I have, let's see, I've got my pan here. Actually, hold up, I'm not starting at the beginning. The very first step in our directions are to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. See, I told you that I don't always read my recipe all the way before I start. So right now, I'm going to let you all go set your oven 425 degrees. All right, I'm not going to talk specifically about how to do that because every one of our homes have a different oven and they're all going to be set a little bit different. Mine, I have to hit bake, dial up to the right temperature, and then hit start. So that's how mine works. And it's preheating and it'll start telling me the temperatures as it goes up to 425. And then it beeps at me when it's ready. I'm sure yours is similar. So our second step is to line our baking sheet. I have it under here. We're lining it with a piece of foil. And then on top of that goes a baking rack. This will allow your bacon and your little Smokies to cook all the way around because they're going to have heat coming up from the bottom. I would suggest that you spray this with Pam so that they don't stick as much and it makes cleanup easier. Now, I always spray Pam over my sink because I don't like it all over my countertops. So I'm going to step away from the camera and spray that. And you can do the same. All right, if that sounded like a lot of spray, it was because I want a really easy cleanup as I'm working here. All right, this I'm going to set off to the side so that you can see what I'm cutting on my cutting board. Whoops. All right, our next step is to combine the brown sugar with the cayenne pepper. So I have a small bowl. This is just what we use for cereal at our house. When we cooked this on Saturday during the original cook along, of course, I've got 2 4-H'ers at my house, so they were with me. And I had marked the cayenne pepper as optional, and my youngest picked up on that and he said, I don't want it. Well, I like a little bit of spice. My oldest likes spice and my husband likes spice. So we decided to make 2 bowls. So we had a bowl that was just brown sugar and we had a second bowl that was brown sugar and cayenne pepper. So we did half and half and everybody was happy that way. Today, since I'm the only one home, of course, I said it was Monday morning, so everybody in my family is in their places, school, work. And so we're going to go ahead and do the entire amount with the cayenne pepper. All right. So the original amount on your recipe is a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. If you do decide to split it, here's a math question for you. What is 1/2 of 1/2? I'm going to let you think about that for just a second. If you want to hit pause at any time during this recording, you can. Now I'm going to give you the answer. 1/2 of 1 cup is 1/4. Okay. So if you're going to divide it up, you'll do 1/4 in one bowl and 1/4 in another bowl, and then add your cayenne pepper. All right. So we're going to do, like I said, a whole amount of cayenne pepper. And when we measure brown sugar, we want it to be packed. So I have mine in a canister. And I mix it up real good. You can use a spoon or you can use your measuring cup. And then I scoop it towards the edge and kind of wiggle it around. Okay, and now we have a nice cup of brown sugar. And when I dump it into my bowl, it should keep its shape. That is a sign that it was well packed and that you have a good measure of brown sugar. All right, and now we're going to put in our cayenne pepper. I'm going to do 1/4 teaspoon. Again, when I use spices, the first thing I do I smell it to make sure it smells fresh and good. And then I scoop up, and you can kind of jiggle it around till you get a very flat measure. This is not a heaping measure, okay? But flat, you can use a knife or a spoon to flatten that. And that's going right in there. I always put the cap back on things because if I knock it over, not only am I making a mess, but I'm also wasting my ingredients. So caps back on, the lid's back on in the brown sugar. And then I'm just going to use a teaspoon to stir all that together, get it good and mixed up. Sometimes we have big chunks of brown sugar, even in an airtight canister like that. So make sure that you kind of break those up with your spoon. Usually the back of the spoon is enough to get those apart. Okay, so we've got our brown sugar and cayenne pepper, a little bit of spice, which will be perfect for a backyard barbecue. All right, and I'm going to set that over here to the side, and I'm actually going to clean up. So I'm going to grab just a few things and put them away. And they're just going into my sink for now. And again, I love my dishwasher, so everything will go in there after we're finished. And now it's time to get into the goodie of this dish, okay? So take your kitchen shears. I have a pair of regular scissors. They go in the dishwasher. They're not used for any other projects. They're just sort of for opening packages of foods. And I like to open these on 3 sides. So the little Smokies are first. And be careful because they do have some of the cooking liquid still contained in the package. And you don't want that spilling everywhere. So just kind of keep it contained in the package. We're basically just cutting 3 sides to make a lid, or you can cut the entire top off. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut it, the whole thing off. So now the package is sort of like a little bowl, okay? And it's holding everything in there. So that's nice and neat, right? I'll set these off to the side. And then I'm going to open my package of bacon. If I'm going too fast for you, just hit pause. I'm just even throwing some of my packaging in the sink too, and I'll throw it away later. All right. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to put gloves on. I don't cook everything in my home with gloves on, but sometimes it's kind of nice. I really don't want my hands to smell like bacon all day or sausages. Plus the bacon kind of, I don't know, it's kind of mushy, right? Like the fat part of it, I don't love it. And I also don't want to have like brown sugar under my fingernails. So I've got my gloves on. They're also handy if you're going to cook with jalapenos because they protect your hands. All right, so package is going away. And ooh, I found a little piece of plastic. So make sure you don't leave that in the food. That's actually called or considered a physical contaminant. So we mentioned hair in our food. Anytime you've got hair, a fingernail, an eggshell, a piece of plastic from a package, it's a physical contaminant. So that is what really grosses people out. So we want to keep those things out of our food. Now, I've got the entire package of bacon still together, and I would suggest that you cut it together. If you do it this way, you're only going to make 2 slices. Oh, my dog is barking. Hang on. Hang on. about that. There's somebody walking by and I didn't want him to keep barking, so I shut the blinds. So I may have to let him out in the backyard in just a second. Can y'all hear him? Okay. All right, so we're going to cut through the entire stack at the same time. I want you to, hang on, I'm going to let the dog out. Come on. Y'all, if I was a famous TV star, that would not happen on my cooking show, but it does happen on the 4-H cook-along, okay? So let's get back to this knife, all right? So I've just got a small knife, and I want you to make sure that you're holding it lightly with your thumb and forefinger, gripping it lightly, and then once you get ready to cook, hold onto the food with a claw. So like an eagle claw or a panther paw, depending on where you go to school, because this is going to keep the knife away from your fingertips and keep you from cutting yourself. So I'm going to turn this way. Actually, I'm going to cut it this way so you can see. All right. So we're going all the way through every piece of bacon. We're doing another cut over here. And then we're good. So we've got 3 sections here. Put my knife away. Even though I have gloves on, you notice I'm still wiping my hands. If your gloves get too slippery, you can wipe them off. All right. And I'm going to put my pan back over here. Okay. And all you're going to do is get one of these pieces of bacon, one of your little Smokies. You're wrapping it up. And you can either, if you like, you can put a toothpick on this. It makes it easier to pick up when they're finished. I've done them both ways. I'm gonna fold this down so y'all can see. And then it just goes on your pan, on the rack with the seam side down. Now I am going to work on these. I want you to work on yours at home. Normally I would be able to see, like I said, when you finish, because we would be live. So feel free to pause this if I work too fast. I don't think I can pause the recording, so I'm not going to. I don't want to mess this up again. So I'm just going to work, and you work too. You might hear my dog barking, but at least he's outside, so it's not too loud. Okay, that one kind of fell apart. So if they do, when you set them down, just rewrap them, no big deal. This is a recipe where if you want to, you could actually make half the recipe and you could freeze the little Smokies or use the bacon and use the bacon for another recipe. That's an option. You could also double this recipe if you're going to have a lot of people over. All right, they're getting a little slippery. I'm going to wipe my gloves off again. I don't remember anybody cooking with gloves in their homes when I was a kid. We certainly didn't do it at 4-H either. So it's kind of nice that we can buy these for our homes now. And like I said, keep the scents off our hands, keep the spice off of our fingers, as with a jalapeno. Some of these are kind of sticking together really, really good. All right, we're rolling, we're rolling. On Saturday, we had one 4-H'er who had some bacon left over, and she actually just put it on the pan along with our little Smokies, her little Smokies, and baked the pieces like that. So we don't want to let any bacon go to waste, do we? All right. I've got about 6 or 7 left. Whoops. I think the thin cut bacon works best for this dish because it cooks evenly. There we go. I'm almost finished. Okay, you may, as you get to the bottom, you're going to notice that cooking liquid in the bottom of the package. And I didn't double check the package, but I believe the little Smokies are fully cooked. They just have to be heated. So I don't believe there's contaminants like there would be from other raw meats in this package, but I think you should treat all meats as if they are raw and could cause a foodborne illness. Okay, there's my last one. And back to the cooking liquid, make sure you don't get it on your counter. And if you do, wipe it up. Okay, I've got 2 pieces of bacon left, so I'm going to put those on there. Get rid of this package. Okay. All right, so I'm completely done with mine. If you are not done, you should pause the video at this time and finish up all of your sausages. All right. Another math activity you can do if you want to, you can use an array to count up your pigs in a blanket. My first column is 5. The other column is 6. 5 times 6 equals 30. Okay. All right. So now that these are done, we're going to take the sugar and we're just going to sprinkle the brown sugar. And of course, again, mine's got the cayenne pepper in there for a little spice. So you're topping each bacon wrapped sausage with sugar. And this is just going to caramelize. It's going to almost be, well, it is technically a candy. Once you cook sugar, you get candy. So that's going on all of those. Now, I want to mention something about cross-contamination. This is when you are spreading a contaminant from one surface to the other. My gloves touched raw bacon. Now I've got my hands in raw sugar, or not raw sugar, but sugar. Okay. All of this is going into the oven together, so that's okay. But I have a question for you. If I have any leftover sugar, should it go back into my sugar container? What do you think? The answer is Absolutely not, because then you would cause cross-contamination to the remainder of the container. Now, if I had taken my gloves off and I had used a spoon to spoon all of this on to the bacon and the sausage, then I could put the remainder, assuming it didn't have cayenne pepper in it. Okay, so there's just a little bit about food safety. I'm actually going to use all of this because I can't return it to the container. And I despise waste, but I especially despise food waste. I don't want to put anything in the trash that I spent my hard-earned money on. All right, if you need to, pause the video here. And your oven should be well preheated by now. So I'm going to put these into the oven. And if you'll check your recipe, they are baking for 20 minutes. All right, so mine are baking. I can't wait to try them again. They're so delicious. And one thing I did notice that I would add to your instructions is once you take them out of the oven, they're going to set for about 5 minutes. Then I would maybe blot them on some plates that are lined with paper towels because, like I said earlier, the bacon and the sausage are a little greasy. So, and along those lines, we are going to talk specifically about appetizers while our appetizers in the oven. So the definition of an appetizer is a small portion of food at the beginning of a meal. Formally, traditionally, it would be a sit-down meal, but I believe in 2021 and living in a small town as we all do, we're a little more casual with that. So we tend to call appetizers any sort of small bites that we have before a meal. So I know if I get to a party and someone has chips and dip, or they've got chips and salsa, then I'm ready to dig in. And it also is sort of a sign that it's going to be a really fun party and you're going to get a lot of good things to eat. Traditionally, an appetizer could be even a small bowl of soup or a salad, as long as it stimulates the appetite. Now we probably consider charcuterie also a appetizer. So one other important thing to note is when you saw the recipe come through the email, you thought, why is she having us make this unhealthy dish? Well, I picked it on purpose. It is high in fat, it's loaded with sugar and salt. Those are the 3 things that we have to watch out for when we eat. But because it's an appetizer, we were only eating a small amount. I don't want y'all to learn to only eat in a healthy way. Eventually, you're going to leave your parents' home and maybe you'll get an apartment and maybe you'll live in a dorm. And quite possibly there will be a Chick-fil-A or a Taco Bell next door. And I don't think it's wise for us to teach you to eat unhealthy. I think it's a better idea for us to teach you to make good choices. So again, we're only eating a small amount of this dish. So also along those lines, you might be, let's say you're a Dr. Pepper addict and you think maybe it's okay to drink a Dr. Pepper every day. What do you think? Do you think that's okay? I would ask you a few questions. Are you in PE at school? Do you ride your bike every day after school? Are you also picking up a donut and you have a Little Debbie oatmeal cake in your lunch? All of these things are things that we have to consider when we make our food choices. All right, so with that said, we're going to play a fun game. I have a picture that I'm fixing to flip over, I have a picture of something that is magnified, and I want you to guess what it is. I'm going to let you look at it, and then I'm going to start giving you some questions to consider. So one of these items is a naturally occurring element. One of these items can be dissolved in water. Has anybody guessed it yet? One of the items might need grinding. One of the items can actually keep ice from melting. Both of these items can come in a variety of colors and price points. So that means that sometimes we can buy it very inexpensively, and sometimes it will be a form that's very expensive. Every one of you have this in your house right now, in your pantry, on the dining room table, or near the stove. Did you guess it yet? One of these items tastes really good on French fries. The other item might make you sneeze. And it also might make you thirsty. All right, so I'm going to tell you the answer in 5 seconds. So if you have not guessed it yet and you still want to guess, pause the video after I get to number 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here comes the answer. This is a photo of magnified salt and pepper. Hard to believe, right? On Saturday in our original, some of the kids were guessing. I know my kid thought this was a marshmallow, and this kind of looked like brownies. Somebody else thought it was pieces of steak. So lots of good ideas. If you would like to set up a game for your parents, you can go in your pantry and get out some of the spices and put them on a paper plate. Be sure to make yourself a key with all the answers and have your parents smell the spices and see if they can guess what they are. All right, so we still have about 13 minutes on my timer. So I'm going to leave you to let that finish baking on your own. But I would like you to start filling out your project logs as we go through the cook-alongs. At the top is your name, your 4-H club, and then you need to circle the project. This is the food and nutrition project in 4-H. You should use a different form for each project. So today you're going to start with the date, put whatever date you're watching this video, and tell what the learning experience was. You should always start the learning experience with a verb, so it shows what you did. Today you prepared bacon wrapped little Smokies, or bacon wrapped spicy little Smokies if you put the cayenne pepper in it. You learned about the 4-H food show. You learned the correct measuring techniques for both a measuring cup and a measuring spoon. You were able to practice your knife skills. And finally, you played a fun game. All right. So be sure and fill that out as you go. Oh, one thing I left off, I would put an hour for this session. I have found as the agent and as a 4-H parent myself is if my kids fill these out as they go, then it's not so hard to recollect what you did and get organized at the end of the year. This form is due to my office, AgriLife, Texas A&M AgriLife, Blanco County, by August 1st. So you can see it would be awesome to have all of these filled in this fall. If you want to turn them in as soon as you watched all the 4-H cook-alongs, you can. I am receiving them at any time. So good luck to you. This was fun. I hope that it wasn't too dry since we didn't have as much discussion as we normally did on our lives. And I will be sending out information for the October 30th Cook Along Live as soon as possible. Take care. Bye.